Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking a trip way back in time. We're stepping far away from the hustle and bustle of our modern world, right into the ancient mythical city of Dwarka. The text we're exploring today is really fascinating. It centers around this timeless, absolutely profound dialogue between goddess Satyabhama and Lord Krishna. You see, Satyabhama comes to Krishna deeply troubled after watching humans killing small, helpless animals for food. And her distress, it sparks this incredible philosophical journey. Through a series of ancient parables, the source material invites us to really look hard at the foundation of our everyday choices, specifically the ethics of what we actually put on our plates. So here's the big question. Is taking a life for sustenance a sin, or is it just, the harsh law of nature? It's a heavy one, right? This is the profound philosophical hook the text asks us to chew on today. For literally centuries, humans have debated whether eating meat is some natural right handed down by a higher power or just a massive failure of compassion. And what's super interesting is how Lord Krishna answers this. He doesn't just give a simple yes or no. Instead, as we'll see, he uses the incredible power of storytelling to totally dismantle our everyday justifications. Moving into Section 1, the argument of supremacy. Okay, to break down this really common idea that human intelligence somehow automatically gives us dominion over the animal kingdom, let's look at our first parable, set in the ancient village of Chandrapur. Picture this. A wealthy man in the village is throwing this massive feast before heading off on a pilgrimage. He serves vegetarian dishes, but also an absolute mountain of meat. Goat, chicken, fish, the whole shebang. Now, when he notices some villagers actually refusing the meat on moral grounds, he stands up and arrogantly addresses the crowd. He proclaims that God created these smaller, weaker creatures specifically for humans to consume. His justification? Well, it's one we still hear all the time today, right? He says animals are put here just to satisfy our appetites. And honestly, if we didn't eat them, they'd overpopulate the earth. He's arguing from a place of pure, unfiltered human supremacy. But then, an 18-year-old youth in the crowd steps up and completely dismantles the wealthy man's logic. Using some brilliant Socratic reasoning, this kid flips the argument totally on its head. He points out a massive, glaring flaw in this whole supremacy idea. The youth argues that, well, if physical weakness makes a creature meant for food, then our entire human hierarchy completely falls apart the second we step into the wild. He delivers this incredible challenge. He asks, if you believe animals are made for our food, why do you protect yourself from the lion and the tiger? Just let that sink in for a second. If God's rule is simply that the strong get to eat the weak, well then humans are undeniably on the menu for apex predators. Yet what do? We run, we hide, we protect ourselves. The youth brilliantly exposes the hypocrisy here. We literally only use the law of nature argument when we're the ones holding the knife. So the youth lays out this absolutely flawless core argument. First, he tells the crowd that all creatures are born and die equally. Second, animals feel the exact same pain as humans do when they're injured. I mean, pain is pain, right? Now, yes, humans have been granted higher intelligence, but the youth argues that intelligence definitely does not equal the right to dominate or exploit. If anything, true intelligence should lead to higher compassion. And finally, he points out that humans, unlike obligate carnivores, have alternative ways to sustain ourselves. We simply don't have to kill to survive. And honestly, with that flawless logic, the wealthy man was left completely speechless. All right, let's shift it to Section 2, the hunter's false justification. This next parable, which was originally taught by Lord Shiva to goddess Parvati, takes aim at another super common defense, this idea of human rights over nature. Imagine the scene described in the text. Deep in a really quiet forest, a hermit is totally immersed in peaceful meditation. Suddenly, bam! His tranquility is shattered by this terrified, trembling deer that just runs up and hides behind him, desperate for refuge. Moments later, a relentless hunter, a Vyad, shows up, bow in hand. I really want you to feel the raw, emotional reality of that trembling deer here. It anchors this whole spiritual discussion not in some abstract philosophy, but in the visceral, undeniable fear of a living creature just trying to survive. So the hunter demands the deer, right? He claims he tracked it, so it's his property. He's arguing it's his inherent right to hunt. And amazingly, he even tries to rationalize the violence by claiming he's actually doing the animal a favor, freeing it from its earthly life. Unbelievable, right? But the hermit immediately counters this false justification. He presents a spiritual truth that completely rejects the hunter's premise. The hermit states flat out that absolutely no living being has absolute authority over another creature's life. The hermit looks right at the hunter and delivers this profound statement. You have no right to take a life you did not create. It's a really powerful moral boundary. The text is suggesting that taking a life isn't a right, and it sure isn't a favor. It is a massive overstepping of our role in the universe. Which brings us to Section 3, the mirror of empathy. So, because the hunter in the forest was being incredibly stubborn, the hermit decides to tell him a story within a story just to wake him up. He tells the tale of the kingdom of Angadesh. Now, this kingdom was struck by a devastating famine. Crops failed, people were literally starving. In a state of emergency, a meat-eating citizen proposes what seems like a logical solution. Let's just lift the restrictions, kill the animals, and eat their meat to survive. He figures it's cheap, it's fast, and hey, it saves human lives. But the king's minister, he sees right through this. He sees how easily we humans justify cruelty when it serves our own survival needs. So he devises this absolutely brilliant psychological test. Here is how the minister's trap goes down. In the dead of night, he goes straight to the home of the very man who suggested eating the animals. He flat out lies and says the king has fallen gravely ill, and the royal physician claims the only cure is a small piece of flesh from a healthy human. He basically asks the man to donate just a tiny bit of his own flesh, offering him massive amounts of gold in return. Well, the man is absolutely terrified. He refuses immediately, offering his entire life savings in gold instead, just to avoid the physical pain and bodily sacrifice. The minister then goes and repeats this exact same routine with other citizens all across the kingdom. And the result of all those visits? Zero. Literally 0 people were willing to offer their own flesh. Instead, the citizens collectively offered thousands of gold coins to save their own skin, because they were absolutely terrified at the prospect of experiencing that physical pain and violence themselves. So the next morning, the minister piles all that gold right in front of the king and the court. He reveals his ruse and drops the ultimate mirror, exposing human hypocrisy. He says, when giving your own flesh causes so much pain, imagine the suffering of the innocent creatures you kill. Boom. He highlights this supreme double standard perfectly. We guard our own bodies and value our own lives above absolutely everything else, yet we relentlessly devalue the lives and bodies of the animals we consume. Back in the forest, hearing this story, the hunter finally breaks. The text actually describes how he repents in tears. The mirror of empathy completely worked. By forcing the hunter to imagine his own flesh being taken against his will, the hunter pierced right through years and years of hardened rationalization. The hunter drops his weapons and vows to never kill again. It's a beautiful demonstration of how true wisdom, when it's deeply, truly understood, naturally leads to a profound change in our daily behavior. And finally, Section 4. Choosing compassion every day. So, what does this all mean for us? How do we take these ancient teachings out of the mythological forest and actually apply them to our modern, everyday lives? Well, the source material synthesizes it pretty clearly for us. On one side, we've got the common justifications. The rich man says God made animals for us, the hunter says it's his inherent right, the citizens say meat is just an easy resource. But on the other side, the spiritual truths systematically dismantle every single one of them. The youth proves pain is equal and might definitely doesn't make right. The hermit establishes you cannot take what you didn't create. And the minister exposes that we deeply value our own flesh, yet happily take theirs. The source material is basically arguing that once you see these truths, well, ignorance is no longer an excuse. To wrap up this dialogue, Lord Krishna issues a final, really stern warning from the scriptures, specifically the Garuda Puran. Now, you might be thinking, well, look, I'm not a hunter, I don't kill the animal, I just buy it at the supermarket. But the text is completely uncompromising here. It warns that whether you kill the animal yourself or you simply buy its meat, you carry the exact same spiritual burden of its suffering. Distancing yourself from the physical act of the slaughterhouse, that doesn't remove the moral consequence of creating the demand for it in the first place. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative question drawn straight from the heart of these ancient parables. If you value your own life, your own body, and your own freedom from pain so dearly, why devalue theirs? It's a question that really demands some deep moral introspection about our diets, our habits, and our entire relationship with the world around us. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through these fascinating teachings. Take care and keep asking the big questions.